So I'm sure everyone has heard of the Haitian Revolution, but what's not as talked about is the Oge Rebellion that happened only a few months earlier. The Oge and Oge's Rebellion is Vincent Oge, who was a wealthy and educated Jean de Coulet, which means free person of color, born in Dondon Settlement, which is today Haiti. He was a quarter African and 3/4 French, with a mulatto mother and a white French father, right? And they called that at the time a quadroon. Someone who's quarter black was a quadroon, and according to the black codes of France, right? And then in 1789, by this an accident of fate, while he was in Paris on business, the French Revolution broke out. He became inspired by, the cause of liberty, fraternity, equality, and by August of that year, he had approached a group of colonial whites living in Paris to propose changing racial laws in the colony that discriminated against mixed men regardless of their wealth and education. And they said no. They gave him a hell no. He then approached the Society of the Friends of the Blacks, which is called Société des Amis des Noirs, which was an anti-slavery society, anti-slavery in quotes. They embraced him and his ideas, and then he quickly became a leader while in Paris. He became a leader of the group, and they began to pressure the French National Assembly to give him representation and to force the colonists to allow voting rights for wealthy free men of color. And OJ went out of his way to claim that, hey, this is not intended to weaken slavery. This is not an abolition movement. He instead said that making free men of color equal to whites in political rights would actually strengthen their devotion to France and make the system of slavery even more secure. So this was not a man seeking, black equality. This was simply for other mulattoes and mixed men. And the Assembly also rejected him. They rejected, they also said hell no, right? So at this point, OJ is angry. He's pissed off. He's made 2 attempts so far to get equal rights for his fellow, mixed men of color, free men of color, right? So he's angry, he's pissed off, he leaves Paris, and he lands in Saint-Domingue sometime in early October. He tried to keep his landing a secret, because at this time, there was word being sent back to Saint-Domingue, hey, this guy is really pushing for this stuff, watch out for him, right? And sent back in Saint-Domingue, he meets with a Jean-Baptiste Chavannes, who was another wealthy mulatto, and he was actually a veteran of the American Revolution. He was a chasseur volontaire, right? And together they gathered a force of about 300 free men of color to demand Negro rights. And the colonial government also rejected their proposals. And then in retaliation on October 23rd, 1790, they attacked. They attacked Cap Français, and they successfully defeated several detachments of colonial militia. But unfortunately, OJ and his rebellions were fleshed out by a larger force of professional soldiers, and they were forced across the border into the Spanish colony of Santo Domingo. On November 20th, 1790, OJ and the 23 remaining surviving forces, his 23 remaining men, including Jean-Baptiste Chavannes, were captured and in the Spanish part of Hispaniola, right? They surrendered after receiving guarantees of safety, but Spanish authorities betrayed them and returned OJ and his men to the colonial government back in Saint-Domingue. And then Vincent Oge and Jean-Baptiste Chavannes were brutally executed by being broken on the wheel in the public square in Cap Français on February 6, 1791. And the rest of his men were tortured and executed throughout February 1791, just as an example to not rebel. And you know what happens next.